Okay. I've been making a lot of videos and I'm going to continue to make videos until I can't because I know they're using Department of Defense technology to torment and destroy my body. And I know that the people doing this to me, even if these people around me are involved in it, the truth is, seeing who they are, they're not the one running the show. And as a target individual, you can never get lost in this facade. They paint a false reality and they want you to stay within this reality. That's why I'm speaking as much as I can when I can. Because these bottom feeders involved in this truly want you to escape in this facade they created. For me, I cannot, this is my purpose. People involved in the program are such disturbing and capable of doing so much horrible things. Doing these things, they cannot go into this deluded reality and try to live that reality. Not with me. I'm sorry. I know it helps them cope with what they're involved in because they enjoy, and I understand why they enjoy. It's a moment where they feel godly, and of course, incentives are not only just these feelings and sensation and intoxicating reaction they get out of being able to do these horrible things to you. But also, obviously, there's a financial aspect of it that I'm sure they get out of it. But at the same time, can you imagine you have the ability to do these nasty things to somebody and that person cannot even see you? And some of these people are, gosh, weak is not even the word for it. I mean, some of them you look at it, it's like, oh my goodness. There's some people who listen, my body is like breaking down. Death is probably at some point going to be very near to me. I'm not scared of that. I've accepted death. This is one thing I have in common with this low life. But to see some of these people, men, women, I'm like, oh my gosh. They come in all shape and form. I'm like, no wonder why you would love to be involved in this. And so I'm like, this is something that would be intoxicating. But to cope with the reality of what they're involved in, the foulness of what they're part of, the disgustingness of what they're part of, the horribleness of what they're part of, they make this story up in their mind. A reality that they created, they know it's falsified, and they call it our reality. It's so delusional, but so obvious, and I'm so mean that I won't let them live in that fantasy, which means that it's going to be very bad for me. Because these people who have the ability to create such a falsified reality deal with reality with this nonsensicalness of thinking that my torture, the more I'm going to be tortured, the less it's going to be reality. As in what they're part of is going to be less of a reality if I'm screaming more, if I'm being tortured more. They have this kind of state of mind. They combat reality with this deluded reality. And I can see it. But I refuse to give it to them, even though I know that it means more pain for me. It's provoking to them to see reality for what it is. And I understand why, because they have created this reality to cope with what they're truly part of. This has become a coping mechanism because they need that in order to enjoy what they do. They enjoy what they do, but to make themselves feel better about who they are, they live with this creation. When you see somebody who knows who he is, I mean, he's a trash human being, but he's owning it. At least you respect that. It's like, you're a piece of shit and you accept that. But these perps still want to feel like they're normal people and this. No, I'm sorry. I'm not going to let you do that. I'm not going to let you escape. You're a normal lowlife. You're a normal bottom feeder. You're a human shit involved in a program that does horrible things. No, just to me. And you know that very well. You know who else is being tortured. That's why you are here painting this fantasy of a story of what you're part of. I've refused to do that. I've refused them going to that fantasy. Whatever clown likes things they say. Whatever words they try to say to people, like, okay, yeah, okay, too many. Stop trying. Too many testimonials. Too deluded. Yeah, For example, for me, there's been this fantasy of like they're making me pay now, and I'm like, you guys are such clown low life. Because what they try to say is pay for what you did when you were a kid. Pay now, and the tonality they use. Oh my goodness, pay now, like this anger, and they talk to me like that via like V2K, and I'm like, he's such a human shit and a clown. Target individual. Let me calm down. Let me just calmly speak, because it takes a lot of like emotional energy, but it just you truly have any like anger, because you know what this is about. Listen, I am a target individual. I'm a TI. Governmental entities, specifically the DoD, has been for decades developing technology that sounds science fictional. It's so sophisticated that it's hard to believe. The technologies that they're using is definitely used onto us as a weapon. So I would say it's more weapon development than anything. They use men, women, and even children all around the world. The technology can do so much damage to you physically, but also psychologically, and can manipulate you in ways you can't even comprehend. It can do things to your body, to your organs remotely, like they can attack your organs without breaking your skin. It can literally target your body in ways that is just like no sign of it. It can do things to you internally, and there is nothing. There's no, like, you don't see any cuts, anything. It just hits you. And this technology is developed by this Department of Defense, and they're using human beings as test subjects. And the test subjects are men, women, and children. They also have technology that's specific to the cognitive aspect of things. What they can do with the brain is even more surreal than the technology that does these things to our organs. This technology literally can rewire your brain, make you think and manipulate you in ways that are just not, it's so hard to even believe that it's possible, but you are now manipulated the way they design you to experience things. They do this. They can do so much to your body, and you learn later on this like terminology like EEG, cloning, EEG, heterodyning, things like that, where they literally can capture your brain signal, your cognitive brain signal, and not only see whatever you're experiencing, but manipulate this signal, and then put it back in your brain. This happens like this. You feel like it instantly. This technology can do this thing. That you experience what they want you to experience. Make you have reaction they want you to have. Make you create action, like make you do things like that they can want you to do, in the sense like it's the action itself is not really like extra, but they can make you think of what they want you to do. They can make you feel a feeling, an emotion, a thought, a perception, and it's super refined, and they can manipulate. It's crazy. Your brain can be rewired, and this is technology coming from the Department of Defense. And the reason why it has been so refined and precise is because they kept using human being and developing it and making this more and more precise. Now we'll talk about 2024. I think the first electromagnetic type of technology used onto brains was in the 60s or even before that. Today is something that is crazy to even, like, it's just so overwhelming, manipulative. And then they have created this program that now the target individual, well, I don't know now, but what's happening as a target individual, your whole ecosystem is surrounded by people contracted by these governmental entities to implement these tactics. So you're gonna hear noise campaign. As I was speaking here, you heard somebody throw some trash and making noise campaign and try to make noise campaign to try to. These people are partaking in your targeting. It seems like your whole surroundings are filled with people contracted to do that. Their job is to truly break you down. Now, I'm sure the financial aspect of it is why they're doing that. I'm sure there's also other incentives. So like I said, this intoxicating feeling of involving yourself in a program where they can play with human beings' brain and change them to thinking whatever way they want to. These are people who, their life, who knows how much control they have in that. But your life, they involve in complete manipulations of whatever you're going to experience. Everything is orchestrated. And so that alone can give one this feeling of like this enjoyment. But then there's also a facade that is supposed to make you accept this falsified reality. It's clear the government is running this program. It's clear these governmental entities are the reason why this is happening to you. Now, what they're going to try to show to you, what they're going to try to present to you, this BS story that you will never believe. But if they're very like if you're somebody who, I mean, for me, I'm skeptical. I'm somebody who, I really usually don't think in the way of this. Like, think it's like I'm not the one who, I'm very like straightforward. Like, I have a strong sense of logic, in a sense that, of course, I'm seeing these people. I know that you're obviously not the reason why this is happening to me. Maybe you're involving yourself. Of course, you participate. You might even be the one implementing some of these things that's happening to my body. That means that there is such a strong system that somebody like you can participate in this. So, like this is obviously a governmental entity running this program. I just heard some child-like person scream something to try to disorient me. Okay, I will never believe that this trash who screamed this thing is somebody in charge of this thing. I will see just as a participant in such a strong system run by the government to break down a target individual. Matter of fact, if anything, this should give you the biggest indication that these people are obviously run by governmental entities. Look at them. So you see them for what they are. For at least I'm seeing them. But they still try to persist this facade that I will never subscribe to. And matter of fact, I'm the type of person who not only won't, I'm not identifying, I am making sure that they know that I know what they're truly about. And the truth is, at the end of the day, you then find out the testimonials of so many people, and then you clearly see the obviousness of who's behind this. There's been these tactics, because thankfully with us target individual, the tactics are very systematic. Even though sometimes the facade might be different, the tactics are similar. And so there's this tactic of trying to make you believe that this is anything but this massive government doing this. Some people think it's just like cults or satanic group or whatever, and then a lot of people think it's the next door neighbors, or this 14-year-old living next, which is typical for me too sometimes. Of course, I know neighbors for sure. You keep hearing neighbors are doing this. These neighbors, some of them are not actually just neighbors, like they're regular, they don't live here, they're not like native. Others are probably real neighbors, but they also can be contracted. When you see who can be involved in this, anybody can partake. So of course, if you see this, any neighbor can do that. Then it doesn't look like they need specialists. It feels like it's easy to partake in this. And so neighbors will involve themselves, and some people are not neighbors. You can see them like, you're not from here. And some of them are from here and are people who do this. But like, okay, there's like a system here. I'll go somewhere else, there'll be the same kind of thing. There'll be neighbors, people around, involved. I'll go to another country, it'll be the same thing. This is a global network of this thing. And that's because the DoD has been establishing this for years, and it's global. But the most disturbing part is when they really want you to accept this facade. And you're like, if you delude yourself, I'm not gonna make you leave. I am not going to let you live in your fantasy. I'm not. Because some of them really, these perps really want you to accept this fantasy, and it helps them coping with the reality. With me, the manipulations have been not unique to me. Like I said, there's validation that when they do this rewiring of the brain, some of the testimony have been shown that they do this pedophilia type of torture. Meaning that you look at a child, you see a child, you hear a child, whatever, or even when you sleep, they can make you have this disgusting reactions, stimulations, perceptions, something that is going to be disturbing, and it toward children. They're going to make you have these reactions, these thoughts, these memories, and then they have these people that you just heard not too long ago make noise campaign. Try to annoy you, to try to make you accept it. Oh, we saw that bad. But for me, it's been like, when I see them in person, some cases I don't even want to look at them in the eyes, not because I'm embarrassed. I'm just because I'm gonna be angry. If I'm looking at you, I'm scared that you're gonna try to do this thing, and I'm gonna look at you, and I'm not gonna be okay. Like I don't want to react anyway, so I just ignore them, because I don't want my anger to make me react a certain way. That's the truth. If I look at them and they look at me, and at this point, I've been too validated of what they're part of, and I've heard so much of the most disturbing, disgusting testimonials, and I know it goes as bad as mass shootings. It's just horribleness from top to bottom. That's seeing them try to make me accept this bullshit. On top of knowing that they are rewiring my brain in these ways, it's easy to lose it. And I don't even want to waste my energy on some trash, so I don't even look at them now, because if I look at them and I waste even an ounce of my energy, it will be a waste. But that's their job, and they want to keep that character, which I wouldn't have fucking let them. Like, I can't even let them go into that fantasy. And I have to find a way to just calm down when I see them. And the best way for me is just ignore them completely. So, one thing they've been trying to make me accept, well, what they do is make me experience this nasty reaction, and then try to make me accept this manipulation that's so disgusting. I mean, earlier they were making me think of a time when I am so terrified, and right now they still try to do something to me. Well, I am so disturbed by what they make me experience when I see children, that I don't even want to look at a child because I know it's going to be a disgusting reaction that is going to be designed for me to experience. That I don't even want to don't want to hear a child, I don't want to see a child, I don't want to see none of this. No. Unfortunately, that's how it is for me today. It has turned into something traumatizing. That seeing a child is turned into something so disgusting that I would prefer not to look at a child. Any experience when I see a child is going to be disgusting and disturbing and traumatizing, in the sense that they're going to make me experience some disgusting reaction that would not be experienced naturally. But that's what they do. They traumatize us in these disgusting ways with our brain. Our brain are rewired to torment us. And I went to this place with this person who was a perp, as always. And I don't even want to go into public places because there's going to be children. And then these people are going to make me experience this disgusting reaction when I see children, that it just disturbs me so much that I don't even want to be around children. Because what this technology with these perps have rewired my brain to experience. But when I have to do it, I do the best I can. And so I went to this place, like a museum of some sort, and I'm looking up. And I can see there's kids around down. I'm like, I don't even want. I'm looking up. I can hear them walk. They walk the steps and everything else. So throughout this my whole time, I'm just looking up, just not even ignoring them. They start making me imagine these children that I didn't see. These like little girls that I didn't even see. And start giving me the perception and stimulation that make me have an imaginative child. And they start like, now we mapped it, did this and that. They send this retard that you heard in the Make Noise campaign to try to get me to accept these things. It's disturbing. But that's how bad it is. But the worst is like, no. What we're doing, we're mapping. We're making you experience something you experienced when you were a child. And they talk about what I did as a kid when I was in middle school. And an act that was such a impulsive action of a child that I completely forgot. That means it was just such a meaningless action to me as a child. Now, what I did was inappropriate, but in the state of mind of a child who's just 13, 14 years old, that doesn't understand truly like the impulsiveness of and what this inappropriate act was. It was a meaningless thing for me when I was a child at 13, 14. Now, it's still inappropriate, but the mind of a kid doesn't capture like things as they should be, because there's still children in their brain. A 13, 14-year-old brain is not an adult brain. Things are still kind of missing there. So this immediately, because of this is the meaningless of what it was to me as a kid, disappeared, evaporated, because of a child's brain and impulsiveness of a child. Now, what I did as a child, they want to exaggerate that. They've been trying, and I've been saying that over and over. They're trying to exaggerate what I did as a child to make it seem worse, because what I did is something I did to myself. But they wish I molested a child. They've been trying to create these storylines. And it's like, delusional trash. I will never go. I know what I did as a kid. And I know why you want that to be that exaggerated version. Because this trash, who wish I molested a child, actually work for a program where children are tortured. Like I said, you will hear testimonies of a whole family being tormented by DoD technology. Some of the torture are sexual. This technology can target the genitals and make you feel pain in the genitals. They love to do this. Not only to men, but women too. And they do that to children. So you clearly hear testimonies of how they hurt children sexually. Kids as young as 3 years old, you hear them grabbing the private parts because they are targeting the testicles of a child that's only 3 years old. And so you hear this testimony and this trash wanting me to experience this, wanting me to accept this falsified memory where they wish I molested a child. When I was myself a child, I actually try to counter the fact that you know that they torture children and sexually torture children in this program. Because the reality of what I did as a child is something I did to myself. But because molesting a child is becoming too much of an exaggeration, what they try to be like satisfied with or try to create, it's like, no, but you use her hand. Because molesting her, the kid, is something they have to exaggerate. Well, there's an exaggeration. It's something too much of an exaggeration. Because the truth is something, what I did is what I did to myself as a kid in middle school. And so they're like, no, but you use her hand though. No, and then this is too far. Okay, she touched it. And this is me in freaking 8th grade. Try to exaggerate to that point. Now, like I say, reality is what they design. They don't live in reality. Reality, I think, for them will be too much with what they're involved in, because what I'm hearing, the testimonials of how they torture children, is just horrible. You hear I'm here listening to women saying, me and my young child are being tortured. And I have 4 pages that describes the kind of torture I'm experiencing with my young child. You hear the women saying, I'm witnessing this 3-year-old grabbing the genital because he's harmed, he's feeling pain there. I see a 4-year-old, as they try to manipulate this, you hear that. I see a 4-year-old grabbing their children, grabbing their private area. Because this 4-year-old with Down syndrome is feeling pain then, and the 5-year-old too. Now, you hear these horrible things, you know what they can do to children. Now, going back to me as a kid, they tried to counter what I just heard there by exaggerating what I actually did as a kid. Well, me as a kid, this impulsive act that never happened again was me doing something to myself. And then try to involve somebody else. Well, the truth is, unfortunately, even what I did as a kid to me is like even to me, but it's still an inappropriate act. But it was an appropriate act done to myself. And as a grown man thinking about it, it's like ugh. But I understand that the mind of a child is a child brain. This is why this thing was just evaporating in my brain. It was just meaningless. It was an impulsive act of a child. This is how a kid can do things in this impulsive way. That's the reality of things. And of course, these bottom feeders, their job is like, oh, no, see, that's proof that what you're experiencing today is proof. Man, they are. This trash out here rewiring the brain. They're not here to try to be logical with you. They're so illogical, they are here to talk about you. No, that doesn't. You molest. Trash ass. This is what they do. The reality is reconstructed. It's deconstructed and reconstructed in their ways. Now, the most disgusting part is when I hear the testimony of kids that were molested. I remember there's this story of this girl. She was saying when she was a very young girl, like 5 or something, that she was molested by an older kid. Something was done to her when she was a 5-year-old or so kid. some older kid was doing things to her. And they tried to make me imagine that this is the story of me, and this is what I did, to try to make me believe that's the story of it's this her story is the same as my story. My story has nothing to do with that, and my story is me doing something to me as a kid, me, myself, and myself. This is the truth, and that's reality. Now, these people, obviously, because what they make me experience today, they want anything exaggerated in ways to be closer to to this different story. But I will never let them live their fantasy. You know, this woman was molested, something that was done to her. Me as a kid did something to myself. And that's the reality. To the point that I ended up start talking to somebody who I know has no recollection of who I am. I have no idea who I am completely. I know the father told me, he's like, she has no idea who you are. I was like, okay, that makes sense. And they tried to make me scratch here so they can create this. But they were like, no, you traumatized her, this and that. Like, she have no freaking no recollection of who I am. She's living her life, no idea who I. And I was like to the point, like, I'll go there and be like, yeah, because these people want to create these stories so bad that they want me to be like, no, you traumatized this. No, this is like the same story. I was like, what? First of all, I did something to me as a kid. This woman was molested. Something was done to her. But it's not about reality. It's about their reality. They disorient reality. So I'm here sending a message to this person. I have no idea who I am at this point. I have no recollection. There's no traumatizing action. Because really what I did as a kid was something still inappropriate, but something that I did to myself. But that's what a child can do with this age of impulsiveness and just not understanding really what's, like what is boundaries, and a kid in middle school. When I look at it back at it now as an adult, I'm like, oh God. But I'm also understanding of how kids can think at that age. This is what a child in middle school in 8th grade can do. That's the brain of kid. And it's funny, like, they make me think of like some kids, how like some 8th grader look. I'm like, listen, you can make me see a older kid or a kid that looks older, but he's a kid but still look like he looks more mature, and look at, like, listen, a 13, 14-year-old brain is not a brain of a matured, understanding individual. It's a child. And if I showed you an 8th grader, an average 8th grader, you'll see how much of a child these people are. I remember going to this place, and there was this little kid, like he looked like he's 12, 13, between that. He's like 7th grade or so. And I'm looking, it's like, imagine like you see somebody, like, no, you see this brain, this is an adult. And actually, a year from now, he's gonna be an adult. I know a child like that. And I'm not saying not all 7th graders, not all 8th graders are doing this, but they're kids. Now, I'm talking to people who are torturing children. That's why they are here trying to create these stories in this level. They are torturing infants. Babies as young as 3 weeks old. They were in the womb 3 weeks ago. And now they're being tortured, causing this 3 week old to have rashes because what they do with the skin or whatever they do to cause rashes. I mean, there's so many ways. I don't know what exactly, but to make somebody react this way where they have rashes to the point where they think this kid is going to die, this baby who just got born. The same people here, or not the same people, they involved in the same program where they do these things to these babies, but somehow are so angry of an act of a middle schooler who never did this again, who they have to exaggerate because what I did as a kid is not to the level where they wish it was, where they wish I molested a child, where they wish I abused, because even that is something that's based on this definition, but it's still inappropriate to try to vilify that. Not even vilify, try to be like so angry and enraged, but somehow find all this calmness when I hear testimony of how they torture babies. Never. I will never. You heard the noise campaign. I'll be hurting like I know 7-year-old kids are being hurt. But please understand, I will never look at this trash and be like, they're so mad. No, you're involved in a program that torture babies. You're just looking for what you can use to vilify me, and you're looking at me as a middle schooler doing this freaking dumbness of a child act, and try to use that to give you strength, fuel you into doing this fantasy of a facade, where you're somehow some avenger while involved in a program that literally sexual torture even 3-year-old kids. Where they are here suffocating a 7-year-old kid with autism, when they're sexually torturing 4-year-old and 5-year-old with Down syndrome. No. And today, my brain, when they rewire this shit, when they're doing this manipulation, oh no, we mapped it. At one point, it's like, you see, no, but you see, you forgot. We're reminding. What? If anything, the reason why I forgot, it shows that it was just such an impulsive moment of a kid that didn't even see and just find that moment so meaningless that it was just evaporating out of his brain. I didn't look at myself like, forget about it. No, it was so nothing to me. Showing the brain of a child and how impulsive a kid can be. And today, as a grown-ass man, forcing me to have this reaction and be like, no, we just mapped it. It's you. That's how you felt when you were a kid. What? And you know, somebody just say burn every time they try to connect it. Say burn, that makes sense. No. This is how my brain's being rewired to make me think that that's how I felt when I was a kid. And today, as an adult, I should experience the same thing. It makes sense. No, I wasn't experiencing that then, and I'm definitely not experiencing this like this naturally. And every time they connect and manipulate me to experience that, this is something about how I'm going to be tortured. I'll burn, I'll scream, I'll die, but I'll never identify with this manipulation that this EEG can make you experience. You delusional trash. These people are renowned to manipulate people to have reaction to children. And they're like, no, this is you, we mapped it. No. You are manipulating my brain to have sexual reaction to children. You've done that to others, and then you try to talk about me in middle school. And this damn thing of what I did as a child to make you feel like I should be identified with this manipulation today, because apparently what you're doing is making my brain connect with me as a kid or something like that, some dumbness, while working for governmental entities that actually have problem with pedophilia. So much so that there's a bill called End National Defense Abuse Act. Because these governmental entities that have been working on this technology, this EEG heterodyning and EEG cloning, have had issue with child porn being trafficked in this network. That the Child Protective Service looked at all the network in the United States and ranked the network of the DoD as the 19th out of 2,900. And when you manipulate my brain and be like, no, we mapped it, to try to make me accept this thing. Now kids at the age can do these impulsive things and never think twice about it. That's what a child is able to experience. And yes, you have been manipulating people to experience sexual stimulation towards children, to push them into insanity. To all my target individual, there's people are low life and create fantasies in regard of their reality. And today, when you are being rewired and you feel like it's this reaction that you would not experience naturally, and they try to create this bullshit reactions like, no, remember you felt like that as a kid with math and imagine. Just remember, this technology literally can capture your brain signal, alter your brain, alter your thought process, and place it back in your brain to make you experience the design reaction they want you to have. Then they try to gaslight you by telling you whatever torture you will experience or not experience to make you acceptive of this. To all my target individuals, stay strong.